If you want to see what Kabbalah looks like when it stops being abstract and becomes alive, do not open a book. Watch a Friday night. In this episode, I want to show you what the mystics of Safed actually built around Shabbos, because it is their masterpiece, and because of everything in this series, it is the piece you can take home whole and use this week, regardless of where you currently stand with practice. Starts with the scene. 16th century Safed, a hill town in the Galilee, home to the most concentrated gathering of mystics in Jewish history. The Ari, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, Rabbi Yosef Karo. Late Friday afternoon, these men would put on white garments and walk out of the town into the fields, physically outdoors, to meet the Sabbath, as one goes out to meet an arriving bride. They sang psalms to the setting sun, and out of that circle came a wedding song the entire Jewish world now sings, Lecha Dodi, composed by Rabbi Alkabetz. Come, my beloved, to greet the bride. Let us welcome the face of Shabbos. To this day, in every synagogue on earth, the congregation rises for the final verse and turns to face the door, a gesture people perform for years without being told they are enacting Safed's field walk, turning to receive an arriving presence. Now, what did the Kabbalists mean by calling Shabbos a bride? And what has it to do with your week? Two things, one cosmic, one intensely practical. The cosmic. In the Kabbalistic picture we've been building all series, the divine presence in the world, the Shekhinah, identified with Malchut, the 10th Sephirah, the landing place of all the lights, is spoken of in the feminine and described as estranged, exiled, or wandering through the week, just as Israel wanders through history. Shabbat in this picture is the weekly reunion, the day the scattered presence comes home, and the upper and lower worlds, all the pairs we have studied, giving and receiving, light and vessel, come briefly back into alignment. When the mystics sang to the bride, they meant that on Friday night, the universe's broken marriage is, for a day, repaired, and that your table is the wedding hall. That is why the Friday night rituals are saturated with wedding imagery. The white garments, the songs, the two loaves like the double portion of a feast, the parents' blessing over the children, the ancient custom of husbands blessing wives with the words of Proverbs 31, a woman of valor, or Ashes Chayil. The Kabbalists took the cosmic reunion and staged it deliberately in the household, because in their grammar, as we learned, the household is Malchut, where everything real lands. What the mystics understood centuries before the smartphone is that time without boundaries devours the soul. Work expands to fill all available hours. Urgency crowds out importance. The week becomes one continuous smear of obligation. The remedy was not a doctrine, but a fence in time, a fixed boundary. Sundown on Friday, that no deadline, no customer, no unfinished anything is permitted to cross. Rabbi Avraham Joshua Heschel, in the most famous modern book on the subject, called Shabbos a palace in time. And the phrase is exact. A palace has walls, and the walls are the point. Inside them, 1/7 of a life is permanently protected from the economy. A zone where you are not a producer, not a consumer, not a brand, and not behind. The Kabbalists add the soul theory to explain what happens inside. On Shabbos, says the Talmud and the Zohar after it, a person receives a neshamah yeteirah, an additional soul, an enlarged capacity that arrives with the candles and departs with the stars on Saturday nights. Whatever that means metaphysically, every Shabbos keeper knows what it means experientially. By Friday night's second course, you are a different person than the one who came through the door at 5 o'clock. More presence and perhaps more generous. The tradition simply insists that this expanded person is not a mood, it is a visitation. Notice too what the departure ritual says about the mystic's realism. Shabbos ends with Havdalah, wines, spices, a braided flame, and the spices, the tradition explains, are smelling salts, consolation for the moment the additional soul departs and the ordinary week rushes back in. The Kabbalists did not pretend that elevation could be made permanent. They built a weekly rhythm, ascent, dwelling, descent, and return, and trusted the rhythm to do over a lifetime what no single peak experience can. There is a deep wisdom for a modern person in that alone. Transformation is not an event, it is a schedule. Now, let me say the thing this series exists to say. You may be hearing all of this as a description of other people's Friday nights, the observant, the fluent, the families with the songs already in their bones. But the fence in time is modular, and the mystic's architecture scales down with full integrity. If your household currently has no boundary in the week at all, then 2 candles lit at sundown, phones in a drawer, and one unhurried meal with the people you love is not a diluted Shabbos. It is the foundation course of the palace, laid exactly where the Kabbalists laid theirs. Add a cup of wine and a few ancient words over it. Add the blessing of children, a hand on each head, a sentence of unconditional wanting their good said aloud, which some families do for the first time and cannot thereafter imagine stopping. Add one song. Each element you add is another wall of the palace. And if you already keep Shabbos fully, then this week keep it in the way Safed did, not as restriction observed, but as bride received. The halacha builds the palace. The Kabbalah teaches you to notice who has walked into it. This week's practice then hardly needs stating. This Friday at sundown, build one wall of the palace, whichever wall is next for you, and stand inside it for one evening without checking the time. Next episode, our final session, Jacob's ladder and the descent. Why the whole point of the climb, according to the mystics, was to bring something down.